Welcome back. In the intricate framework of South African family law, child maintenance represents a vital component intricately woven to safeguard the financial stability and the welfare of children. Nevertheless, when these obligations are neglected, the legal system is prepared to intervene as an enforcer of these duties. Now, let's unpack this further with legal analyst Melusi Xulu. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Xulu, this evening. Now, let's start off maybe by you explaining the concept of child maintenance in South Africa, including its legal framework and the obligations that are placed on parents to provide financial support for their children.
Good evening to you, Katlego, and to the viewers at home. Thank you for having me. But before I start, I think I'll first start with the Constitution in Section 28, subsection 1, paragraph B, which states that every child has a right to family care or parental care or any alternative care if taken away from the family environment. So the act that we have is basically derived from Section 28 in particular, to that every child has a right to be maintained and taken care of. So the Maintenance Act of it's 99 of 1998. It basically says what will happen about the maintenance of the child. So to begin with, every parent has a duty to maintain. It's not necessarily maybe a duty designed for a certain gender. Every gender is designed to take care of the child, but it also depends at times who is the one that is working, basically, who can take care of the child. Sometimes it can happen that, like in some cases, that the mother depends on the father to take care of the child, so he should maintain the child. And if the parent is not assisting in maintenance, you can basically go to court and get a maintenance court order so that you can be able to support the child.
And in a short while, I want us to unpack a particular case. But I just want to lay the ground first in terms of what are the factors that are considered when determining the amount of child maintenance in any kind of case?
All right. Basically, there is a Form A that you fill at the court. In that particular form, there will be spaces where you must fill in how much you need to be able for the child to be maintained. There'll be a space to fill in maybe for school fees, for medical issues or medical aid, also for maybe extracurricular activities as well. And something that is usually not noticed that is needed for you to fill in. You can also want to be maintained at varsity for varsity fees to be paid, but you must show that your parent can afford, and you actually need those fees to be paid, and you are in need of that, and you can't afford to pay yourself. So those are one of the things that are considered when you are asking for maintenance. And once those things are put for a maintenance order, the parent will be called so that a final order can be made for the child.
So, I mean, there's an article here by Tina Hokwana, who is a legal practitioner, and it's about a father who would spend a weekend in jail for the failure of paying child maintenance unless he pays those arrears within 60 days. Now, this husband is ordered to pay 60,000 rands per month for 3 children. Can you discuss the penalties or the consequences for a parent who fails to comply with a child maintenance order, and what legal mechanisms are in place to enforce these obligations?
Okay, in particular to that case, what happened was he was given an interim maintenance order that he should pay, I believe it was 60,000 rand a month, but he was not paying the whole amount. He was only paying 22,500 for school fees and medical fees as well. So he wasn't also paying for, the rent and so forth. And every child has a right to shelter. That is according to Section 28, subsection 1, paragraph C. So he should have also considered that, because he was the only one he is actually a wealthy businessman. So when he didn't pay that, the mechanism that could be used by the parent or the mother in this case, because it's 3 children that she was looking after, was to basically go to high court, because he was in contempt of an interim maintenance order. So in the Western Cape High Court, it was then ordered that because he is in contempt, he must be, committed to imprisonment for 30 days. But it was said because he was complaining that he still needs to work and, keep his business running. But then the court said, at least you must spend a weekend, and then you can go out and come back on another weekend. But that was suspended if he will be able to pay the arrears and also the maintenance that he has to do every month within 60 days, as you've stated. So that is one example of seeing what one can do if someone is not paying. Also, there is a garnishee order that can be done where a salary of the parent who is not paying, a certain amount can be deducted as per maintenance order, so that at the end of the month, the money will be there to take care of the child. I think the one that is very important, just for a second, is the one that is based on Section 31 of the Maintenance Act, where if a parent is not maintaining, simply a criminal case can be open, a docket can be open, and the parent can be arrested, possibly get paid, but then a criminal trial will be done, and you'll be punished, possibly get imprisonment or a fine. So you can see that there are various mechanisms that can be used if you are not complying with the interim maintenance order or the final maintenance order.
And can that responsibility or accountability be transferred, maybe in a situation where this father or husband is married in community of property and he can't afford to continue paying that, but his spouse can? Can that responsibility be transferred to that spouse or his parents, the grandparents of those children?
Yes, we've seen a number of, or some case laws where if you are married, say you're a husband and you can't afford, but you're married in terms of property, as you're saying, the wife can be, included in that duty to pay maintenance. And we've also seen case laws where if it happens that the paternal grandparents are alive and the father cannot be able to take care of the child, then you can simply, take the paternal grandparents to court to ask that they be able to, to maintain the child. Obviously, if they can afford, because some of them cannot afford, but if they can afford, say, for example, they're from a wealthy family, so you can ask for that as a parent or as a mother, that they are also. So it shows that it goes beyond the father. You can be able to use other people. And, the interesting part that many people are not looking at, I believe I did check this case law. It's a 2010 case. It's MB versus NB, where the step parent was also ordered to pay maintenance for a child that was not his, because he was living with the child for a number of years and he took him to expensive schools. And so basically the court said because he was taking a role of a parent, he must continue to do so. So it shows that it doesn't necessarily mean it must be the father. It can be anyone that, is involved or indirectly involved to take care of the child.
So in this particular case, how does then the legal system handle cases where parents claim that they are unable to pay that required maintenance amount? Are there provisions for reassessing the maintenance orders under such circumstances?
Yes, if you go to Section 19 of the very same act that I spoke about, the Maintenance Act, you are able to vary or, change the maintenance order. But it should be that you must be able to prove that maybe your situation has changed and you are not able to pay the amount that you are ordered to pay. For example, in this case, interestingly enough, the court did say that at least he could have, applied to change, the amount that he was ordered to pay, rather than just not paying. So you have to apply so that the court doesn't say you are in contempt of the court when you are not paying. You have to explain your situation. But most importantly, Katlego, you have to prove that you cannot be able to afford. It has to be something based on proof, not just because you don't want to pay. So basically, you can change the order once you take it to court.
Also in this case, Babqulu, acting Judge Parker found that the court accepted that it would not be in the best interests of the children for him to be arrested in that time, because then the business would suffer and also the contact that he would have with the children. But the court also expressed that they need to send out a message to people that if you don't comply with court orders, there definitely needs to be some kind of consequences.
Yes, most definitely. The section that I wanted to bring in our conversation today is actually section 28, subsection 2, that says, and it's a foundation of what we're talking about. It says a child's best interest is of paramount importance in every matter of the child. So it was a catch-22 situation. Do you make a committal that, or a decision that the father is imprisoned for 30 days and not working? But if he needs to work, if he works, he'll be able to take care of the child. So I think the court was caught in a position where it just has to, put a condition that if you are not going to pay the amount that is in arrears and also maintain every month, this is the possible situation that can happen. So yes, it can be that, you've been convicted or you've been committed to imprisonment, but the court may maybe suspend it so that you can be able to continue to work and take care of the children, because at the end of the day, it's about the children. Hence, I'm saying the Constitution specifies that the best interest of the child are of paramount importance. So in this case, that was what happened. And if his children needs to be given 60,000 rand a month, it's going to be possibly difficult to do it whilst he's in prison.
Certainly. From your own experience, what would you say are some of the common challenges that are faced by parents, both custodial and non-custodial, in navigating child maintenance cases, and how can these issues be addressed within the legal framework?
I think some challenges that I've seen. For instance, you'll get a mother that wants the father to pay maintenance. Then the father will possibly do things from a financial perspective that are irresponsible. Maybe will take out loans, a number of loans, and will possibly saying he's taking care of other children, which are his in some instances. And then he will be making that as an excuse not to give the mother the exact money that she wants. So I do see some challenges in that sense. But sometimes, if I will just change the scenario a bit, it does happen that the mother will possibly say she wants to be given 15,000 rand for the child maintenance, only to find that she can also afford to pay. And when you're claiming for such an amount of money, the court will say no, it will give you maybe an amount of 2,000 rand, only to find maybe that the father was in fact paying 4,000 rand a month. So you do find that sometimes the matters are taken to court unnecessarily. And when you take the matter to court, the father will then be paying less, or the mother sometimes will be paying less than what you want. So we do find those situations. But the other challenges that I must say, which are very strange, is where you'll find the father, when there's a maintenance order, he will quit working.
Sure.
But the courts have found that if you do that, if you can't afford to pay maintenance, but it's due to your own fault, a criminal case can be opened if they find that based on investigation, when you quit the job, it was based on your own choice, so that you can frustrate the mother when she's claiming for maintenance. And I'm using mother because most of the times it's the mothers who are claiming for maintenance, but it can be a father who's staying with a child who can also claim for maintenance for the child.
People certainly do very bizarre things. Lastly, Melusi, how do cultural, social and economic factors influence perceptions and practices surrounding child maintenance in our country? And what do you think can be done to foster a more supportive environment for families, and we're not finding people leaving their jobs simply to abscond paying maintenance?
Yes, I think sometimes, culture does play a role sometimes, where, for example, you'll find that maybe it's not just about maintenance, but about custody. You'll find that because you did not pay intlawulo, or damages in English, you're not given full access to your child, or you did not pay ilobolo for your child, because you can pay level for your child so that you can have full custody as a father. You find that you don't have the right relationship, and sometimes you find that the maintenance is used as a measure to fund the lifestyle of a mother, of the parent who's staying with the child. So I think that is not correct. What needs to be done is we need to, when we're having children as parents, we need to focus on making sure that our personal differences are put aside and the child's best interest are of paramount importance, and you are able to, have a proper parental agreement to make sure that the child's needs are taken care of. So that's what I think needs to be done as parents. But sometimes you find that, because of cultural issues or personal differences, you end up not, focusing on the main goal and purpose of maintaining a child, and that can frustrate a child. And you find that the child is not growing up in a proper environment. So I think it's up to the parents, Katlego, just to end. It's up to the parents. Yes, you may need a maintenance court and you may need outside factors to assist when you can't do anything about it. But I think the parents must be able to have a strong vision for their children, whether they're still staying together or not, so that the child can be taken care of. Because as I said just now, the best interest of the child are paramount in any matter that relates to them.